Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Especially you at the back there, Andy. I heard all about your exploits. And I've got one thing to say to you. Well done, sir, well played. I had the unbelievable luxury and opportunity to indulge myself in not one, but two movies last night. I used to watch movies all day long and all throughout the night. But now, I never get that chance. Families, issues, stuff, the pub. And I've been to the pub as well. I've actually been to the pub. So, hey, what a result. So I was able to watch a couple of movies. And of course, when you're waiting for a movie to come out at the flicks or to be streamed or downloaded or to buy on Blue or UHD, and you kind of, well, when that arrives, you're going to see it. When you've got this unexpected opportunity, this freedom to watch a couple of movies, you're like, what am I going to watch? In my case, I'm not going to make the obvious mistake. Well, I can't call it a mistake because I love them. Oh, I'll put Escape from New York on again. I'll put The Thing on again. I'll put The Wolfman or Jaws. The same old, same old. But no, this time I thought, no, deliberately, I will go upstairs. I'll remove myself from the movie room where most of my cherished movies are residing and all their friends and associates. I won't look at any of them. I'll go upstairs to the more obscure titles on the shelves. So I was like perusing, and you're kind of reading all the spines like that, and then you get one which is from another country, so it's written the other way on the spine, so you're going to go like that to turn around. With my back at the moment, that's not a good manoeuvre. But I was spending ages trying to find something. I had a little stockpile, and I went, and oh no. Oh. And then suddenly I saw the title, and I thought, haven't seen you for a long, long time. I wonder if you're still as shit as I remember you to be. And so I picked two movies anyway. And I'm not going to review them both in this video. Although I could do, but it'd be massive. The video would just go on forever. Even when I try to keep videos brief, I go off on so many tangents and this, that and the other, that we'd be here all day with two movies, let alone one. So I'll come back to the other one later on. But anyway, so, and I did this curious thing as well. I picked it out and I went, yeah, I'll watch you. And then I thought, hang on, which version is this? This is an Italian version. Oh, I've got to, what machine plays it? And I went through this crazy thing, because I've got several machines as well, including multi-region. So I don't know why I was even doing that. So in the end, I streamed it. Yes, lazy bastard here. I streamed it. When I actually had it in my hand, I went downstairs and I actually streamed it. Anyway, that film is, well, you've seen the title of it already. It's Nightmare City, directed by Umberto Lenzi, and from 1980. And what a deliriously daft, pseudo-zombie apocalyptic movie this is. I remember when it first came out. When it first came out, not the flicks in the UK. I saw, as you guys know, I saw many movies massively underage. I just lived in the cinema. And but this was not one of the films that I did get to see at the flicks. I don't remember seeing it at the flicks. I did see some other Italian, nasties and stuff. But the first time was actually on home video. And if memory serves me right, that original video release was actually uncut. It was also then taken from the shelves by the overzealous police force, during the height of the video nasty furore. And I was present in a shop called Exclusively Beta. Big shout out to Steve. The good old days, mate, the good old days. Used to love it in there. Because I was the man that bought Beta, or had Beta bought for him. But I was there when they took The Living Dead from the Manchester morgue down, which is one of my all-time favourite zombie movies, and I have reviewed it extensively on the channel. Go back and find that, should you be so inclined. And I was there when they took this, and they were really proud to take it as well, The Living Dead. That was a British title. It's got 1,000,001 other titles. But then, right next to it was Nightmare City, which was not on the DPP list. It wasn't banned, but it did gain some notoriety. And they took that, and there was a muttering amongst these coppers. In the bag. Yeah, where was that going? Straight back to one of theirs, and they'd be sitting there watching it free of charge. Anyway. But Nightmare City from Umberto Lenzi. Lenzi, folks, well, a lot of you will be very au fait with his oeuvre. There you are. Bit of lingo going on, bit of patois. He did The Man from Deep River. He did Spasmo, Eyeball, Eaten Alive, and most notoriously of all, Cannibal Ferox. Now, Cannibal Ferox was not your Cannibal Holocaust, which is actually a really good movie. Every time I say the title of Cannibal Holocaust to people, since day one, since that film first came out and I first saw it, I didn't see it when it first came out because that was a lot earlier, but I always caveat, Cannibal Holocaust. It's actually a really good film. Is it? Why wouldn't it be? Just because of the lurid title that people suspect, oh, that's going to be grim and nasty and exploitational. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Tick, tick, tick. Animal cruelty? Sadly, yes. Human cruelty? Whoa, off the scale. But really well made. It's one of the rare examples of a film I don't mind seeing a cut down version of, because the version now, it does excise some of the animal cruelty. So, and I don't mind that. It doesn't affect the story at all. But it's still as nasty as they come. But it's expertly made and it's genuinely gritty and raw. And yet so well produced and mounted. It's actually a great film. It has something to say. Well, that wasn't Cannibal Ferox. Cannibal Ferox was made to cash in on that. And Umberto Lenzi made that. And in that one, of course, you had arms getting severed. John Morgan, aka Giovanni Lombardo Radice, getting his pecker sliced off and then eaten in front of him, getting his arm hacked off, and then they shove him under a table where only the top of his head comes through, and then they machete that off and then start scooping his brains out. It wasn't a good day out for him, was it? He always dies spectacularly in these Italian exploitation horror nasties. But you also have impaling via spikes through naked breasts. Yeah, it was a bit of a grim movie, but spectacular in its way. It's also a film that I came across it last night and I thought, well, my eyes just went straight past it, to be honest, because even though I revere it and cherish it from my childhood, my urchin-like desire for spaghetti splatter and the most taboo-breaking movies, I'll never watch it again. Because that moment's gone. I just don't. I might watch Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3 when it comes out and really enjoy all that for its sort of callback nostalgia to endless splatter and gratuitousness. But I've seen and done Cannibal Ferox. Not literally, but, I ain't doing that again. Not anymore. Don't need to. I remember it all too well. So, but Umberto Lenzi would do this. Nightmare City. Now, as I said, this is a pseudo-zombie apocalypse. They're not zombies. They are irradiated victims of a experiment gone awry. A nuclear scientist has botched things, as they always do in these movies. And they are now depleted of red blood cells. So they can't replenish red blood cells, which gives them an uncontrollable urge to kill and maim and disfigure and to drink the blood of living hosts, who will then rise from the dead with the same affliction. Yeah. But if you're going to knock the science of this, you've also got to question Romero and his dead cycle of movies. And this film, even though they're not zombies technically, because they run at high speed and they don't really devour anyone, they just drink the blood or enough to satisfy them for a while. But they're fast and they're strong and they've got to be killing by, set them on fire, blow them up or shoot them through the brain. Yeah. It clearly rides on the entrails of Romero's zombie movies. It's inspired by that. And in a way, it actually quite... Dawn of the Dead was the big zombie movie. It still is the big classic zombie epic movie. Even beyond Day of the Dead, which was meant to go far beyond it all. See what I mean about me going on tangents? But Dawn of the Dead, you had the big city, you had flyovers, you had rural countryside, stuff happening all over the place, giving the impression of a huge widespread plague. And then you end up for 2/3 of the movie in the big sprawling shopping mall, Monroeville. And most other zombie movies are kind of condensed and claustrophobic to a couple of locations, mainly shot at night time usually. They'll be in some building, some house, but they won't be huge scale. Not Nightmare City. Oh my God, even though it's called Nightmare City, it takes in the countryside and rural locations. and a big amusement park. It's got airfields, it's got army bases, it's got a hospital, a TV station, it's got country mansions, it's got all sorts in it. This is a big, big sprawling movie. I'd kind of forgotten just how extensive it was. And even though it's an Italian movie with its usual roster of cast called from every nation under the sun that doesn't speak English, and they've all been given anglicised names, but it's part of it, isn't it? And obviously it's dubbed. Well, I'll tell you, the version that I streamed last night, I had the subtitles on it, so that's what I did. Because although it's always fun to poke fun at bad bugaboo dubbing when the mouths are going, 10 to the dozen, 20 to the dozen even, and words are coming out left, right, and centre. Like, but who's even saying that? That's always fun. But I wanted to because I wanted to get behind what is the point of this story? How did these sort of afflicted, infected come about? Having said that, even with the subtitles on, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just ridiculous. So, and it's also, it's Italian, it's filmed in Madrid and the environs around Madrid. So it gives it a bit more of a unique flavour. And also, Lenzi lenses this mostly in the outdoors and in broad, bright daylight. There's a few scenes which will be shot in Italian studios, but the rest is around Madrid. And it's all bright and open. There's a couple of things that happen at night time, but they're so well lit that you got no trouble seeing things. So he doesn't like prey on shadows as such and stealth and things like that. And things creeping up on you. When these guys attack, they attack en masse, and it is quite hysterically blood-curdling, or blood-curdlingly hysterical. I have trouble saying that. I'll have to lubricate the vowels a little bit. And here's the best way, folks. Cheers, y'all. So, what's the story then? Such as it is. We have, I forgot his name, Hugo Stiglitz. Oh, that's great. How did I forget that? That's a great name. Who was last seen before this in the Italian Jaws, Spaghetti Jaws ripoff, Tintorera, or Tintora. Tintorera, I think is the best way of doing it. I think it's Italian-Mexican Jaws ripoff. But folks, although you think right away an Italian-Mexican lurid exploitational ripoff of Jaws, it's going to be gory as hell. Forget it. The same stock shot of the shark, and the shark seems to breathe. You hear breathing as it goes in for the attack. Like, what's that about? It's like some kind of giallo slasher movie, but it isn't that good, folks. Even though the poster was great and lurid, but no, the film was a bit of a no-no. But he's in that, and he plays Dean Miller, who's meant to be an American TV journalist, and he gets the call that we've got a C-130 Hercules unmarked coming into the airport with an emergency landing. It's carrying that nuclear scientist we've all been talking about. Oh, right. So he and his cameraman and about an armada of about 5 jeeps full of crazy beret, Spanish military extras all pull up outside this C-130. And like one guy with a bullhorn is like, well, open the doors now, come on outside, everything's okay. And they're all waiting there with these ridiculous berets on. Why is it no one out of this country, as in Britain, can wear a beret properly? It's always outside. They're like some kind of Parisian sous chef, a big souffle thing on top of their head. What the hell is that all about? Even Sam Troutman in Rambo First Blood can't wear a fucking beret properly. Don't get me started. But anyway, so they're all there and roll camera and they're filming. Oh, what's going on? Next thing, the doors on this C-130 open and a whole host of these roadkill-faced zombie types storm out, and they're all blokes and they're all carrying knives, axes, scythes, machetes. I think some have got guns as well. Where did you get all these weapons from on board that? What was it? Was it a flying abattoir? They've all got spikes and sickles and scythes, and anyway, they lay waste to this waiting entourage, hacking into them, and then, as we noticed, when the blood spurting, they're drinking it, sucking it, and all that. And they obviously, our guys get out of there, realise that there's some kind of, this is big, this is a big story. But General Murchison, played by Mel Ferrer, Mel Ferrer, big name star, on the European circuit. Who's clearly not English or American, but has the General Murchison. You only ever see him in one room, the war room, with all these other adjutants and aides scurrying about, all with big silly berets on their head. Realising, no, that was that scientist. We can't tell nobody. We've got to close this down. Got to keep this quiet. He's got like a little map. He's pushing figures around it, But the plague gets out. Our boy gets back to his TV station where they're doing some kind of dance routine. All these nubile young women are dancing around in leotards. A bit like Top of the Pops on steroids. And of course, the mob get in there. These killers get in, start destroying everyone there. Our boy manages to get out of there. He's got his wife, Anna, played by Laura Trotter. Yeah, that's your real name, innit? Laura Trotter, who's a nurse in the local hospital. He's got to try and warn her, so he's got to get back to her. By the time he does get back to her, there's all victims being brought in from because obviously this thing's now, it's escalating. They're on the streets, and the army have been trying to. Well, you don't see much of this. You just see a lot of dead soldiers on the streets, and people drive around in jeeps with big silly berets and machine guns, rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat. And obviously, it's getting bigger, it's getting worse. The scenario is just completely deteriorated. General Murchison's plans have all gone to rack and ruin. But he's got this other guy who he's Major something or other, and he's played by the great, I have to look, Francisco Rabal, who's in many, many movies. Now, he's got a wife as well. He's got a wife in a big country mansion, and her name's Sheila, and she's played by Maria Rosario Omaggio. Sheila. And Sheila has, and our first introduction to them is a great exploitational scene where you've got this seedy older guy, which is this Major, and he's bedding his wife, and then he gets the call, you got to come out because all hell's broken loose. But her big bazoomies are there on display with really nuclear projectile nipples, and as he says to Ra, he can't resist another little good on you. I might never be back, hon, so I'll make the most of this one. And off he goes. And he'll spend the rest of the movie flying around in his helicopter. And so even though Anna, that's the TV journo's wife, has been warned, and as victims arriving there, our boy, our TV journo, can't get there before the big invasion takes place. So they're running down the hospital aisles, people are being killed in their beds. Oh, the lovely people in the ward, including the young teen that she befriends and looks after. He's had his throat ripped out as well. And we've had an operating theatre as well. And they're all there with their gowns on, and they're obviously cutting into somebody, some poor individual who's not in the best of predicaments. How is he going to fight back? And they hear commotion outside. Go and see what's happening out there. Opens the door, and another doctor who's now infected leaps in, and chaos, and bloodletting aplenty. Our boy gets there in the nick of time to save his wife, and they escape in a stolen ambulance. Off they go, cross country. I'm trying to think now. In the meantime, our Major, the nipple sucking Major, he's trying to get back to his wife. His wife, he warns that, look, well, they've heard nothing on the news and all that. He warned, look, all hell's broken loose. There's these crazy fiends and ghouls everywhere. Don't let anybody in, and don't let anybody out. He does say that. What? So what if we've got them in the basement, which they have? Should I let him out? You've also got that Mel Ferrer, the big general, his daughter and her fella living in the lap of luxury in this lovely swimming pool infested huge country estate mansion, and he sends troops in to warn it, and get her out, but it's too late, and the zombie type things get in there, but the his daughter and her boyfriend, her husband, not sure now, they managed to escape. Not for long. And you kind of think that they're going to go on into the story, but they do, but only for a sort of shock where other troops arrive to try and, save them, but they've already been infected, so they have to like kill the general's daughter and her fella. But you've got the major going back to trying to get back to his wife, Sheila, big boob Sheila. And in the meantime, Cindy from just down the road, who's another lovely girl, turns up at the door, like not knowing what's going on, like, oh, Cindy, you best come in. Lock the door. Like, let's stay safe in here. What's going on? Anyway, before you start thinking any sort of lesbian antics, because even though I'd seen the film before and I didn't recall any, I did kind of think, ooh, I've been lucky so far tonight. Can we get a bit of that? No, you don't, because those blood-sucking bastards will invade. You've had Sheila's got this sculpture, this clay sculpture, this face, which is like kind of weeping on one side and smiling on the other. But it's very strange. They're down in the basement trying to keep quiet and they hear a noise upstairs. So Sheila goes up to investigate. And I think she sees a knife thrust into this sculpture, this bust that she's been making. And there's blood dripping off it. And like, what's that? It's just symbolic, I suppose. In the meantime, poor girl downstairs gets offed, and Sheila then has to fight back against the couple that are in there, and a couple of these ghouls. So our major will get back there, finally get back there. Sheila, are you all right? But Sheila's now, I mean, you can see it coming a mile away, but Sheila's got it back to him, and she's working on this sculpture, just doing stuff on this sculpture. It's this same bloody head, And Sheila, you all right? She turns around, and she's got the markings of these guys, as I say, these killers, the fiends, the ghouls, the pseudo-zombies, the infected. It is like someone's just put some old burnt bolognese sauce on their face, and there's usually one eye sticks out of it all, which stares with malignancy and evil intent. But it's a full head appliance or just a bit stuck on. She turns around, she's got a bit stuck on. Sheila, no! And he has to kill her, and he shoots her through the head, and the back of her head just takes off at high speed, and the camera's positioned behind, so you just see her scalp just go, whee, I'm out of here. It just gets launched, and it is quite hysterical, to be honest. But he's had to kill his wife, and that's not good, is it? No, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. Don't do it. Andy, you especially, don't do it. After what you did last night. So you've still got TV journo, what's his name again? Dean Miller and Anna. They have to pull up somewhere to get, obviously petrol for their stolen ambulance. And it's this little country retreat, this little sort of ramshackle gas station. Country retreat. I meant ramshackle gas station, that's what I meant. And it's seemingly deserted, no one there. Think the airfield that our heroes in Dawn of the Dead arrive at, where suddenly, everything seems okay, they start filling up the helicopter, and then zombies sort of appear from all over the place. Yeah. These infected appear from all over the place. So they lay siege, and there's a couple of axe attacks and stuff like that, and they barricade themselves in, and then he realises, look, the only thing we can do, we're surrounded by oil and petrol and, flammable liquids. Molotov cocktails! Yes! And here is the thing, obviously you need a bottle, fill it with all the flammable liquid, and put your rag in there. Well, what can we use to, use as the rag? Wouldn't you have thought, especially in an Umberto Lenzi movie, that she would have had to rip some of her clothing away to put in there? But no, they go and find some, I don't know what they find, some wool, just bits of, I don't know what the hell it is, bung it in there, and they just lash them out, and boom, up goes the ambulance, and all the surrounding, I was going to call them vampires then, but they are blood drinkers, so all flambéed. So they have to make their getaway on foot now. Now, these guys, well, the zombie type things are everywhere now, and they managed to make it to some abandoned amusement park, and that's actually quite a good setting, to be honest. I quite enjoyed that they did this, And there's bodies everywhere. There's people hanging over, like, you know, the Wurlitzers and all that sort of stuff, like the waltzers. There's people hanging off, you know, the cars of roller coasters, and soldiers are everywhere. So they pick up like submachine guns and grenades and all that, like, and then suddenly the fiends wake up, run after these. So they manage to like hail a few grenades, blow a few up, machine gun a load in the head. Now, some of these effects aren't too bad. I'll talk more about the effects in a bit, but lots of heads are getting blown away. And they climb up one of these, the rail, the tracks of a roller coaster. So they're climbing up this bloody thing. That's actually quite a good novel idea, to be honest. So up they go, and in the meantime, our major, who had to kill his wife Sheila before, he's still buzzing around, you know, in his big aerospatial helicopter, and they see the helicopter and it's like, oh, waving. There's no way on earth he's going to see them, especially the view that the camera shows us of what he's looking at outside the viewing portals of the helicopter. They can't see jack shit down there, but they do, and they come in low, and they're at the top of the first, you know, the rise of the roller coaster. They're at the top there, still killing these zombies, and they manage to get a bit further down, lower a rope. So Laura gets up there first, and she's like, but she's hanging on for dear life. Our boy's climbing up underneath, still mowing zombies beneath his feet. Helicopter lifts off, like, she's screaming, I can't hold on. One arm comes away. No, Anna, Anna drops. And our boy wakes up in bed. It was all a fucking dream. Anna's lying there next to him, not squished on the tarmac of an amusement park. No. She's there. Oh, but he gets the call. There's a C-130 Hercules coming in, emergency landing. It's got that famous nuclear scientist on board. You better go out there and film it. Could be a big story. Off he goes, meets his cameraman. History repeats itself. So the film ends as it began. And you're like, oh, are you kidding me? So what's that? So it's just a stupid shock ending. It's like a Tales from the Crypt. It's a very Amicus style ending. A little twist. It was all a dream, but was it? So he had a big premonition dream about everything that was going to happen. How would his brain, his subconscious have foretold? Because this is what happens. The plane comes in and they wait for the door to open, and then it all begins again. Nightmare City. Folks, I'll be honest, as daft and as risible as this film is, I had a real good time with it. It's such good fun. It was great fun to revisit it after many, many years of not seeing it at all. And it was uncut as well. But this is the thing why I had a bit more forthright back in the day when I was about 13, 14, when the coppers came in and took all these videotapes. I'd have said, why are you taking that? That isn't banned. It's not nasty at all. It's not. Because the film has a lot of gore in it, but the gore isn't very good. The gore effects are handled by, hang on a second, Franco. Do you know what? I should stop writing these things down and just print them off, because I can't read my own writing. Franco di Girolamo and Giuseppe Ferranti. Now, these two guys would work on other movies for Lenzi and many other, sort of gory special effects movies. And I think they're both listed for Cannibal Ferox, but Cannibal Ferox had the effects done by Gino De Rossi. Now, I've said this many, many times, there are two Gino De Rossis who worked in Italian cinema, one of whom was spectacularly good. He did The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, the one I just referenced the police taking. He did Zombie Flesh Eaters and many, many other great horror movies. And pure gore, really, really good splatter. The splatter that matters. And then that's Gianetto De Rossi. But there's also Gino De Rossi, who did a couple of Lucio Fulci movies as well. And everyone gets them confused. But when you watch the films, you can see Gino De Rossi's effects are far more inferior than Gianetto De Rossi's. And often one or the other would appear alongside the other guy, but uncredited. So it adds to the confusion, I know. Now, Gino, the not so good one, did the effects for Cannibal Ferox, but the effects of Cannibal Ferox, made the same year or the year after this, are infinitely better, infinitely gorier, really, really, well, for their time, great latex, stretcho, prosthetic effects, gore aplenty. In this movie, these killers are wielding axes, knives. I keep doing this. It's a big knife going in. They slit throats. An eyeball is pierced. That's what happens to Cindy down in the basement. Actually, an eyeball is pierced and brought out. But the effects are really, really garbage. And if you could be offended by any of these, well, you know, even the likes of Blue Peter or the kids' TV show Pipkins would be too much for you, because these are really juvenile, pathetic effects. Apart from some of the head blastings which take place, which aren't too bad. I mean, Sheila the wife, the big boobed wife, getting the back of her head blown away. That would be good, except for the fact it just seems like the back of her head just goes, "I'm out of here, woo!" An entire piece of scalp, not like a bullet goes through her head and tears a few chunks away, like Savini would do. It's the entire back of her head just goes in a mass. It goes, woo! And launches past the camera. See, in 3D, you'd be, where's that gone? You'd expect to see it splattered on the wall, maybe slithering away, you know. But in the amusement park, where they're blasting away with the submachine guns, you get the front of the heads are going blown away, backs of the heads are coming. That's far better. So there are some good effects. There's an eyeball piercing and ripped out, as I said. There's also a breast which is hacked off and then eaten. But this sort of thing was done far more convincingly and far more disturbingly many years before, when Gianetto de Rossi worked for George Grau for the Spanish, Italian, German co-production of The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. The film I keep referencing because the telephonist in the hospital, the zombies come in and they rip her prosthetic breast off. And you see the stretchy skin and all that. And the gore in that movie is out of this world. It even surpasses the likes of what you'd seen in Night of the Living Dead, which was black and white, and obviously more low budget effects. The effects here were really pushing the boundary. Only Savini could surpass the effects with Dawn of the Dead that were in Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. And only then because of the sheer excess of them. Not that they were better accomplished, because these effects by De Rossi, Gianetto, are really, really good. And then you get this, and it's just, well, it's Poverty Row. But it gets by on the fact of the sheer bravura nature of it. This is a film where the killers themselves look stupid, but just like a dog is just shit over their face, you know, and one eye just peeps out of it all like it's all grime and muck, and one eye is. But what I like about it, and it's the very thing that I always looked back on and thought, oh, that film's crap because of the head coming off and you know, just the stupidity of the story. And this thing I remembered, which I thought that this is dizzy as well. And yet watching it last night, I found it was really more effective. And whenever these en masse fiends attack somewhere, whether they storm out of the plane, whether they go in the TV studio, whether they go into the hospital, or anywhere where they go, any home, any streets, the amusement park, the camera, a load of them will just suddenly arrive, and like the camera will pick one, a centre one, and it'll just focus on like him staring, and it's actually great. I actually enjoyed that, because even though it's hokey as hell, they stop and go, ooh, lunch is up, barbecue time. You know, it's just so daft and obvious and overt, and yet I had a great deal of sense of satisfaction. Like, here we go again. We're here now. Fun's about to begin. Whoosh, call that a knife? That's a knife. You know, and that was the fun element to this. The film, of course, would predate the likes of Life Force, Toby Hooper and Life Force, which I've covered extensively as well. One of my favourite stupid trash, but also high gloss, high sheen trash, but wonderful. I've covered it a lot. You've got speeding zombies and infection. They're not really zombies in the sense of zombies that Romero set down, but and they run super fast. That has its precedence in Nightmare City. Also, of course, you're probably way ahead of me now. 28 days later and 28 weeks later, again, they're not zombies, they're infected, and they can run at high speed, and they've got to do their rage-filled killings, but they won't last too long. You've also got, and obviously other people who can get infected, and the legion of these bastards just increases all the time. Then you've got the likes of World War Z or World War Z, depending on where you be. And in the book, they are zombies. In the film with Brad Pitt, they are not. They are just infected people. I kind of like World War Z, World War Z. The Jerusalem Gates bit is a phenomenal set piece. It really is, and it does look, even with the relentless CGI, but it does look good, and it's galvanizing. It's exciting. It's a letdown of a movie. We all want to see the full version where Brad Pitt's character actually goes to Russia and fights in the trenches for ages, then to get back to his wife to find that the guy he trusted to look after her has actually made her like a sex slave. It was a massively different movie. But how did the movie end? He went to Wales in a sub-Doctor Who TV sort of episodic sort of finale. Which didn't really work. But anyway, so Nightmare City clearly is inspired by Dawn of the Dead and the other zombie movies. It's a zombie film in all but the word zombie. But it then inspired other zombie movies, but also this sort of run of films where they're not zombies. We don't use that term. We don't use that term. Look at The Walking Dead. Never used. They made a pact, a contractual agreement. We're never going to mention the word zombie in this movie, in this TV show, and we're not going to reference anything. Zombies as a creature has never existed in movies or medium. That's fine. I'm all right with that. But sometimes it rankles me because they're fucking zombies. But so, and then you get like 28 days later, and you get Life Force and World War Z, and probably a lot of other things as well, where you have infected people and all that running about and doing horrible things. But Nightmare City got there first in that sort of department. You'd had The Last Man on Earth, the first film adaptation of Richard Matheson's seminal classic I Am Legend, which I've banged on about so often, and then remade again as the Omega Man, or Omega Man as some people say, and then I Am Legend with Will Smith, which is still, after the slap Heather on the Well, they're still talking about that sequel and having to use Will Smith in it as well at some point. But so you've got these other versions where they're not zombies. In Last Man on Earth, they are vampires. In the I Am Legend novel, they are vampires. That's what they are. But only in subsequent remakes, re-evaluations, reimaginings, rebootings, they are infected people, mutants. So this film it's got its own precedent. It has its own sort of, okay, we're an offshoot of zombies, and so we're doing our own thing. We're not going to call them zombies. They are just ghouls and fiends and murderers. And it goes off, forms its own little river. And these other films are linked into that, little tributaries. So Lenzi's film is it's pretty relentless, to be honest, and it is good fun. The only bits that were like are the bits with General Murchison, Mel Ferrer, and his bizarrely bereaved buffoons, and all their ridiculous plans and bullshittery, because that looks really naff, to be honest, and it's a lot of waffle that you don't really need. The effects aren't great. There's some idea there. Now, this is the uncut version. There have been cut down versions of this, the eyeball piercing and removal, but it's just so fake. It really is. It's rubbish. It's a rubbish effect. The breast removal is rubbish as well. And a lot of the attacks, the first attacks, they're not bloodless, but they're not as, the attacks will get bloodier as the movie goes on. So the airport attack, with like stabbings and all that, there's not a lot of and blood. There is some, but it's not a great deal. But you see the big butcher knives and blades going across throats and things, like, you think there'd be blood all over the place. But the attack on the hospital is pretty good. And the TV station's pretty good as well. And you got some of these assaults in these country houses. And then the big finale in the amusement park. It has a lot of stuff going. What? Why are you playing Jerry Goldsmith's score to the 13th Warrior? I hear you ask. I don't know. I haven't got the score to this movie. The score's done by Stelvio Cipriani. And I've got a lot of his scores, actually. And they're pretty good. But this score is massively unmemorable. It doesn't really have that sort of the theme of Goblin for Dawn of the Dead. It doesn't have any sort of drive or momentum. There's bits, but it's not. It's basically, I only saw it last night and I've forgotten it already. So I haven't got a score to play for you. I would normally do that if I had it. But so 13th Warrior, there's no connection, I don't think. Other than the fact that I love this score. Any excuse to play it. You can get it in every territory now, and I think this film is uncut everywhere. I say I've got a foreign version of it on Blue, and it says it's uncut. Do you know what? I don't even think I've watched the version I've got that's on the shelves. Isn't that, how lazy is that? I went to find it. I went to all the effort of finding something, and then located that. Probably, I think it was actually on a row behind a row on one of the shelves. Oh, look at that. And then thought, oh, screw it, I can't be arsed messing around with like settings and getting the right player. Oh, I can't be bothered. Oh, I'll just stream it. So it says a lot for me, doesn't it? Cheers. So there's some boobage in this movie. In the pantheon of exploitation, sleazy, gratuitous, Italian mashup splatter epics, this isn't one of the greatest, but nor is it one of the worst. Very, very far from the worst. The likes of Zombie Creeping Flesh, Hell of the Living Dead, all that sort of crap. And there's so much of it. But this sits comfortably enough outside the zombie realm to be its own thing as well. And it is energetic. It's action-packed. There's a hell of a lot of people in it, and a hell of a lot of locations are used. So that alone marks it way out from pretty much every other movie in that genre of the zombie-infected crossover hybrid sort of, genre. But I had a great time with it, folks. Do I absolutely recommend it? No, of course I don't. Of course I don't. Oh, Kilt-Man, after all you've just been saying about it, and how much you enjoyed it, and how you don't recommend it. With caveats, I'd say, if you love shitty, sleazy, gratuitous exploitation, and let's face it, we all do, don't we? We do. We all do. So in that case, yeah, 2 thumbs up. But if you want quality, and you're either prepared to put up with subtitles or bugaboo dubbing, which these days a lot of people aren't. I've noticed this a lot, actually, because I talk about movies a lot. Well, obviously I do. I'm doing it right now. But with friends and stuff, like, obviously we talk about films. I do go into like the Italian, the giallo and the zombie stuff and the cannibal movies and that, and the thrillers, and like how much I love, and the westerns especially, and how much I love them, the lesser known westerns. I always big these up. And people nowadays are saying to me, even people at my age, they can't be bothered with that stupid dubbing. I hate it. And the crash zooms and the style and the overblown music, I just don't like it. And I'm like, the very things I normally love about it, but even a lot of younger people, because I speak to a lot of younger people as well, oh, you're the Kilt-Man, aren't you? Because I'm kind of known and around this environment. And they'll come and say, have you seen a film called so-and-so? And I'll go, yeah. And then we'll go on about movies, and I love the old zombie movies. Oh, well, I did do when I was a kid. These people are like 18, 19 years old. I did do when I was a kid. When I was a kid, these films came out, and I saw them then. So when they were a kid, you had Jurassic Park and other stuff. They probably had Gladiator come out, So that's when they were kids. And but like many of us, they have a sort of jaded taste and a penchant, for the horror genre. So and of course you want to push themselves, and they hear about these older movies, and then they look and go, it seems to be it's a nostalgia kick now for many people to go back and enjoy these old halcyon days of Italian and other European horror and splatter, because now you've got to take in the dubbing and or the subtitles, and a lot of people aren't prepared to do it these days. I think it's a shame. It's never bothered me at all in the past. I've enjoyed both. My mate Keith, Lee, we call him Lee Van Keith because he looks like the actor Lee Van Cleef. So Lee Van Keith, and he does not like subtitles at all. He'd have a dubbed version any time, and no matter how atrociously performed it was, because he says, like, if I want to watch a film, I want to watch a film. I don't want to read the film. I'll read a book. I get his point. Is there that much of a distraction when you're reading subtitles in a movie? I didn't find that last night watching this at all. But I get it. I get it to a degree, because you are going to have to look down. And if there's a lot of dialogue, there's going to be a lot of stuff there. And if you're watching a Japanese movie, the fucking dialogue, the subtitles could be all over the bloody screen. You know, it's like, whoa. But that's part of the art form as well. If you're going to be stylistic with the subtitles as well, that's even more creative. What did I say about tangents? Oh, yeah. But yeah, Nightmare City, folks, from 1980. Umberto Lenzi, with the great Hugo Stiglitz. I can't believe I love this guy's name, but I have to keep reminding myself what his name actually is. I've got a feeling I'm going to mispronounce that Stiglitz bit and put something else in there. But anyway, Laura Trotter, Francisco Rabal, Mel Ferrer. Big name star as well, like, but trust me, there'll be some fans of him out there, but nah. Maria Rosario Omaggio. Oh yeah. And yeah, what else is there? That's the extent of my notes, folks. But I recommend it to you guys who love this sort of thing. There's a big cop out there, isn't there? If you're new to the genre, then why are you watching this? If you're more inclined for the modern stuff and the more sort of more accomplished, more professional, more cleaned up, better acted. Actually, that's a point there, he says, pointing at the screen at you guys. It isn't badly acted. It isn't. If you hear the dubbed version, it's going to come across as completely overblown and like really OTT, and really hysterically, just right over the top. But with the normal voices that were recorded for it, actually it seems it's pretty well done. I didn't have a problem. I didn't go, oh God, she's awful. Oh Jesus. Oh, what is that? Eye-rollingly bad. The only thing I didn't like was Mel Ferrer, who was probably the biggest name star in the movie, with lots of great movies to his credit. But here, can you say in his older life he's slumming it? Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, he probably was, just doing shit like this. But but he did, those bits did bring the film down a little bit. And that normally, I think films of the 60s and 70s where you went to the war room, you went to the HQ, the head shed, and all the big army bigwigs are there like, God, this is so bad, we need to send in so-and-so. But no, if we do that, it's a last resort. They can be very tense. But we now, from the likes of 24 and Jason Bourne and Mike Banning in the Anything Has Fallen movies, and even Bond, for that modern Bond, you've got so many headshed moments where it's drastic. What do we do now? You know what's going to happen, and someone's going to no, he's a maverick. We don't need him. Yeah, you get this. It's played out so often now that you go, oh, every time you cut to the headshed, you're like, Jesus, here we go, arguments and oh, fuck off, and bogus plans and just shut up. But back when he did this, it probably was a little bit fresher, except that it's got a bunch of really naff, extras, and Mel Ferrer just chewing the fat, really, and like pouncing round with it. It's very grey. He has it. If you look at old pictures of him, he used to smile a lot more. In later movies, he was just dour, dour and stoic, and it was grave. Everything was the end of the world. And you can tell he doesn't really give a shit either. That comes across. But everyone else is giving it, you know, some vigour, some verve, some spit, blood and snot. Folks, cheers. I have been always Shabby Kilt-Man. In the meantime, in this ever exploitational in-between time, please keep it Celtic, and I'll be back with a review later of 1974's The Mutations! Kilt-Man, what happened to the quality reviews you used to deliver to us? Well, they've mutated. That's what's happened.